Testing.
All right, second podcast. Nate and I in the studio again today. Today we're going to really just talk about kind of Nate's story, really, and bounce some ideas off each other, and just keep kind of going back and forth, and let's see what happens. But Nate, I'll let you go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I just want to talk about my story, my experience, kind of things that I've learned. And pretty much what I want to touch on is my experience with anxiety and depression. And I kind of fell into a depressed state in fall 2017, so a little over a year ago. And I felt so uninspired and so, like, worthless, and, like, I felt like I wasn't capable of anything. And I think that's a huge thing that's going on in our society today. And I feel like nobody really knows how to deal with that. And I see a lot of people being prescribed stuff like antidepressants, and which I feel like makes it worse. And I just want, because I remember I was searching like YouTube videos of stuff like to do. Like I tried like meditation. I tried like breathing techniques. I like looked up diets. I tried like positive thinking, which I think's bull, to be completely honest, but I'll touch on that. And I want to give people like stuff that's worked for me, and hopefully it can help other people who find themselves in a similar situation. So the first point I want to touch on is to not take anything personally. So this applies to anything that you say to yourself or anything anybody says to you. So every time I step on an airplane, I think, oh crap, like, is this thing gonna crash? And I don't know why. That's just something that I think. And I feel like as humans, we think like weird stuff. Like sometimes we don't know where things are coming from. Like the other day I thought like, oh, what if my mom died? Like, I don't know. I don't know where that thought came from. Like it came from somewhere. It's not something that I believe. Like I didn't have any conviction in it. So this can also apply to anything that you say to yourself. Like say you get like a D on a test and you're like, oh my God, I'm stupid. Like I'm never going to be able to do this. Like I can't get into med school. Like this is never going to happen. Like I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. Like if you take that personally and if you actually have conviction in those thoughts, then those thoughts will affect you. But if you see those thoughts as like cars passing on like a highway, you just like see it like, oh, that was interesting. Like you have to get to the point where they don't have control over you. You just kind of like, you have the thought and you're like, oh, that was interesting. Like, and this can also be applied to anything anybody else says to you. Like if somebody calls you something or says something about you behind your back or anything, like they're probably like dealing with stuff on their end, and they may be like taking it out on you or in another way or whatever. But it's just, if you don't take anything personally, then nothing can control you, like no outside source. So then you have total control. The second thing I want to talk about is inoculation. And basically how it works is, let's say that you had to do like a speech in front of like 1,000 people, but the most people that you've talked in front of or spoken in front of is like 30, like tops, in front of like a class or something like that. And you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, like how am I going to be able to do this? I've never done that before. Pretty much the concept of inoculation is starting small. So start with somebody you're comfortable with, like a friend or a family member, and then grow to a couple friends or a couple family members, and eventually grow to a whole group of friends or your whole family, and build that up, build your confidence up, so that by the time that after you're done like practicing or preparing, that you feel confident. You're like, I can do this. I have done this. I'm capable. And, that can be applied to anything else. Like if you're scared of heights, start with going off a high diving board, then go on a sky glider, then go parasailing, then go skydiving once you build your confidence up. And that can be literally applied to anything. The third thing I want to go over is actions speak louder than words, but energy speaks louder than action. So whenever you find yourself in an uncomfortable situation, like whether it be sports, school, business, conversations, literally anything, don't so much focus on what you're saying. Focus more on like how you're saying it and the energy you're bringing, because that people can actually feel that. Like I think a lot of things that we do in life, it's not what we do exactly, but how we do it. It could be lifting. It could be talking to, like, being in a relationship. Like, yeah, you could do something nice for Valentine's Day, but if you weren't, like, happy to see them, like, if
Right.
you just got them flowers and chocolates, oh, here.
If you were just
Oh,
in the
great.
moment, if you were just in the moment,
But if you're like,
you're
oh my
present.
gosh, like, this is so cool, like, I'm so happy to see you, like, I'm so glad we're together, like, it's about how you're doing it, not exactly what you're doing in it. And I believe if you focus on that, it kind of just brings a level of clarity. So just focus on that. That's helped me a lot. The fourth thing I want to talk about is peak state. So whenever you find yourself in, like, not very a good mood, like you had a bad day or you rolled off, like you slept on the wrong side of the bed, like whatever, you can literally bring yourself out of that and create a new state by working out, doing something that you like to do, drawings, stuff like that, art. You could listen to music. You could do anything that puts you in a good mood, and you can literally bring yourself into a new state. And I know every time after I work out, I feel like so much better after. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I remember being home for winter break, and all my family was home, and I just got done working out, and I came home for dinner. And I was just screwing around in the kitchen. And my sister looks at me. She's like, you know, I feel like every time after you work out, you feel unstoppable. And I look at her, I'm like, yeah, like I do. And, you know, it's something where you have to give energy in order to get energy.
Right.
And I feel like that's a very powerful concept, because you can't expect to get anything if you don't give anything first, you know?
Right.
And yeah.
There's a power in that.
There is,
You hear about it all the time. You know, people tell you have to be able to give in order to receive anything. And I think sometimes when we're trying to receive something and we're just actively pursuing that and chasing after it, it's usually the quickest way to not get it. Whether that be, you know, money or a degree or relationship status or things like that. If you're just chasing something or chasing a big business, trying to become a big entrepreneur, you're probably not going to get there unless you're being able to give.
Yeah.
You know, what do we mean by give? What do we mean when we say that?
Making somebody's day. Literally anything.
As simple as that.
Kind of like what we did in the first video.
It's simple as
And
that.
it's a mindset. Like, if you're always thinking about, oh, what can this person do for me? What can that person do for me? That's not going to get you anywhere. Instead, if you ask yourself, oh, what can I do for them? How can I make their day better? How can I, change their state?
I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Right, yeah. Well, and people will want to. Like, if you do that for them, like, out of nowhere, like, for no reason, and it's fun to do, like, you get a level of gratification from that too,
Yeah, there's psychology. It's a psychology game.
And if you willingly do that, like, for no reason, other people will return the favor, and it's the best way to live, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The fifth thing I want to go over is praying, and I'm not a super religious person. I go to church once a year for Christmas.
So many people do, probably.
Yeah. And no, I started praying out loud every night, like last semester, and it's praying has like done something for me, like things for me that I can't really explain. Like, there's definitely a higher power up there for sure. Like, whether you believe in, Muhammad or Jesus or Peter Pan, literally, it doesn't matter. There's a higher power up there. And, I just talk about my day. I talk about ideas. I talk about people. I talk about things that I want to do and see, and other people, like what I want them to see, and literally anything. And I kind of it brings clarity, and it's helped me. It's helped me in ways I don't even know how to explain. Like, I remember, like, literally, fall 2017, like, praying to God, saying, if you help me get out of this situation of like depression and anxiety and just being crippled by that, I will literally do everything in my power to help other people overcome that as well. And I mean, look where we are. Look where I am. It brought us together. Yeah, it brought us together, but just like myself as well. Like, it's a little over a year later, and it's exactly what I'm doing, and everything that I asked of him, like, came into fruition, and it came full circle, and now I'm trying to help other people overcome that as well. So there's a real power in that, and you don't have to read the Bible every day, but you can definitely have a relationship where you just talk like friends. Literally, that's how I talk. So that's a big key that's helped me a ton. So the last thing that I want to touch on is that the mind is capable of miraculous things. I know a girl that I work with, and she broke her back, and
Probably carrying you. Not to be funny, but probably.
okay. But yeah, she broke her back, and she healed in an unprecedented amount of time. And she's also one of the most powerful people I know, like mentally. And she's always excited. She's always just upbringing and like positive and full of energy. Like literally one of the most powerful people I know. And I feel like there's got to be a correlation in that, in like your mental like well-being and like physical health and stuff like that. Like I feel like the mind either can lead you down to a road of depression, or it can grant you this beautiful life, this amazing life of abundance. And it's all about being able to control that. And schools don't talk about that. They don't talk about like
There's so many things schools don't talk about.
and it's horrible, and it's led us to a society where we don't know how to control our thoughts or how to, like how the brain works. And that's why I think it's so crucial that I go over what's worked for me, and maybe I can inspire other people to go over what's worked for them, and we can kind of create this community of being able to get over anxiety and depression, or anything else, physical,
Yeah.
literally anything else, health, stuff like that.
That's our message,
So,
though.
yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
we're not telling somebody how to do something. It's like we're all in this together. We're all going through the same things.
So true, yeah.
Our real message is it's a journey, and it's about going on the journey to success. And you may never reach it, but the journey sometimes is better than anything.
Yeah, the journey is the destination of itself.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to touch on, and it's kind of my story, and it's kind of where I came from. And
I just think there's so many things within that even I can take away from it and think about. And it's about not listening to somebody. Even if you don't take anything away from this, it's about actually going out and trying to find a way to better your life
Right.
as an individual.
Exactly, like
I think sometimes we need to be selfish and think about ourselves, because that's what's most important at certain times in our life. You were going through some serious stuff. Like, I didn't even know you had that depression, anxiety, and things like that
I
until
didn't
you
tell
started
like
talking.
anybody.
And the cool thing about it is you actively went out and found ways to help yourself.
Right. Like everything I talked about, exactly right, is a collection of podcasts I listened to, books I read, songs I listened to, videos, literally so many things. And like I fought my way out of it just by finding things, like finding leverage on my own mind to be able to put myself, in a position of power and of control.